get disappointed. Our chief guest of the day, Ambassador Lakhanlal Mehrot Raji, my colleagues on the dais, very distinguished delegates to this, the first conference organized by the Madanjit Singh Institute of South Asian Cooperation, which also includes friends from our neighboring countries, Professor K. Tudor Silva, Ambassador Madan Patani, Mr. Ravindra Kanhal, Senior Fellow from Nepal, the Social Science Institute, Dr. Neelambar Hatti, Senior Advisor, Nordi Center for India, Department of Economic History from Sweden, Mr. Ibrahim Zuhuri, Assistant Director, Head of the SAARC Division, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and other distinguished delegates, young scholars of this university, students coming from the SAARC countries, ladies and gentlemen. As I put it, this is the first international conference under the auspices of the UNESCO Madanjit Singh Institute of South Asian Regional Cooperation, which was envisaged almost a year ago. Somehow it got delayed because it was linked with certain visits of both Ambassador Madanjit Singh and, in fact, the Prime Minister. But since the Prime Minister's visit is likely to be postponed a bit, we decided that we should go ahead with this conference. After listening to the scholars, I thought that I do not have much to speak. As a matter of fact, most often when I come on the dais, when there is a conference on social sciences, I am always in crisis as a hardcore science man. But somehow I get through and get out. And the problem is that if it's only one or two conferences a year, it's not very difficult. The problem with our university is that on an average there is one national or international conference per week, which has set in a record in the country. Last year we had 76 conferences, of which 10 were international. So that's why the crisis, wherever there is a social science conference, I need to look for and hunt for matter to speak. This crisis was much more deepened by both Professor Jha and our anchor Uma. Whatever I wanted to say, both of them said. So then I had to make a quick exercise, mental exercise, to slightly shift, to keep the expectations. But I'm not sure whether I would meet the expectations which Uma announced, speaking on the subject. But then after listening to our ambassador, the chief guest, some life came into me again, because I got a couple of points to speak on. Friends, at the outset, I think I would briefly like to tell you on this origin of my SAARC, we called UNESCO Madanjit Singh Institute of South Asian Regional Cooperation and the South Asia Foundation, which briefly has also been mentioned by Professor Jha. My association with Ambassador Madanjit Singh started when I was Vice Chancellor of Kashmir University. I don't belong to Kashmir because you can know I don't look like a Kashmiri, but I belong to Mysore. I was called to Kashmir by Farooq Abdullah to restore the academics of the closing university in a matter of 3 years and bring out the university from the militancy. And at that point of time, of course, we could do it in 3 years. We could make it an A-grade university. At that point of time, Ambassador Madanji Singh had called for a meeting of some of the vice-chancellors. At that point of time, I came to know about Ambassador Madanji Singh in 2001 and learned more about him. He said that he would like to introduce a scheme of scholarships to promote cooperation between the various SAARC countries. And then he would also encourage universities which would like to start some innovative programs into the respective universities, which is going to touch the heart of the society. At that point of time, I could not think of anything other than, he said it should be an outreach program. So in Kashmir, what I did was, I said that let us start a very unknown program, like popularizing pre-primary education in the rural areas, and which Ambassador agreed to support, where the children, the girls educated and unemployed were brought to the university, given a training in pre-primary education, and given certain money and the training to go and start their own school in the remotest villages, so that pre-primary education is started, then the dropouts in the school dropouts will fall. That scheme worked tremendously well, and over 40 schools are working in Kashmir today. And then, after I came out of Kashmir University, Ambassador requested me to join his organization, South Asia Foundation, as its CEO, to help him to promote these scholarships in the various SAARC countries. I worked with him for 2 years. It's at that point of time, reading his books, I learned how his son is a singer. He likes singing on the streets. But he made him an engineer, and he told him that he should do something related to engineering. He said, I don't have money to establish an industry. He sold his house in Delhi. He put all his savings as an ambassador to various countries and all that, gave it to his son and another partner, a Chinese. They joined together to start a company called ATG Group, Art Technology Group, who ultimately developed several softwares, which includes a content management software called ATG Dynamo. The boom in the industry went so high that one day father and son decided to sell the company, all their shares. The son got $1 billion. The father got $400 million. An ambassador decided to put that money into a trust called South Asia Foundation. Originally, it was called the Sumitra Foundation in the name of his mother, which he had started to give solar energy to a village in Bastar. He has written a book. One of the 13 or 14 books he has written, one is on the solar energy, which is, all his books are translated into 20 languages, including Chinese. Now, that organization was later, it became a South Asia Foundation, and South Asia Foundation has got chapters in all the SAARC countries, now in Afghanistan. Then he decided to start one institution of excellence, Madanji Singh Institute of Excellence, in the various fields of relevance. For example, in Afghanistan, when the Taliban destroyed the statues of Buddha, then he wanted to restore them, and President Karzai suggested, let us establish an institute of heritage to make this study and also take up the restoration. So he established one such thing. There is one school of fine arts in Lahore. It's Madanji Singh School of Fine Arts. Likewise in Sri Lanka, Nepal, and there are many and all. So then, this is how it happened. Then I was discussing with him all the time that you should establish somewhere. When I was working under him as his assistant, I was always suggesting you should establish an institute of South Asian regional cooperation in any of the universities in India, where your mission has to be taken forward. But at that point of time, he refused because I don't know the reasons. In fact, I quarreled with him. The quarrel ended up in my resignation. I'm telling you something interesting. My quarrel ended up with my resignation from his organization. And in fact, I even said that I don't want to be a place where there is no work. Then he told me, okay, you get lost, get out. Then I said, then okay, you take back your salary, I don't want your salary. I returned to him 2 lakh of rupees and came away. When I joined this university, I was invited to this university to join as a vice chancellor. I invited him again. It is here, in a convocation, he made an announcement that he would like to establish the Madanji Singh Institute of South Asian Regional Cooperation. And then he told me, I didn't want to start because I was not finding anyone who will establish that the way I wanted it to be established. And now that you are here, I'm prepared to give you $1.5 million. You start. That was actually Madanji Singh. It's not credit to me, it is credit to that great person who has such strong convictions. So this is the history of South Asia Foundation. And why I'm saying is, this is the first conference, and you're going to take a message. And this is just a beginning. It's just a beginning of the entire activity of the South Asia Institute of South Asian Regional Cooperation. I won't speak on the politics of, I dare not, as not a scholar or a student of international politics, but as a layman, having been away from science, unfortunately for the past 9 years, and got into the administration and had the opportunity to listen to great scholars, several questions start always flowing into my mind. I always feel and think that is our policy, even as a nation 60-year-old, still in the process of evolving? Is a question I start asking to myself. Has it matured, or is it still in a nebulous state? What is driving our policy, external policy, relationship with the neighbors? Or are we, say, a successful big country in terms of our relationships, or are we somewhere or the other a failure at some point or the other? But why is it? If so, why? If it is not evolved fully, the question is why? And why is that so much of disagreement in the country, or the lack of consensus in the country on the common policy of the country with the various neighbors? I got the answer. I was looking for these questions repeatedly, and then every time I was reminded of the fact that the major problem in this country according to me, a person from education and person from a university who spent almost 35 years as a professor and have been in the university administration, I have found that it is not only with the policies, international policies, it's with several other policies of the government. The major cause is the entire university system has kept itself outside. It has kept its doors closed. Most of the decisions and policy making is based on the thinking of either the bureaucrats or the ill-informed, badly read, poorly knowledgeable politicians. It is a blend of